The topic which we have in this particular session and which we need to focus is on the area which comprises of legal aptitude. In this particular area, the first topic which we have is law of torts. Basically, in law of torts, there are various components which we need to study. First is what is the definition of torts. Second is what are the various defense available in the torts. Third is vicarious liability. Fourth is principle of remoteness of damage. Fifth and the most essential part is what is the difference between absolute liability and strict liability. The next topic is defamation. Another topic is nuisance, then malicious prosecution, then negligence and contributory negligence, and the last topic in law of tort is trespassing. Now, these entire 10 areas comprises a significant part of legal aptitude which forms the part of law of tort. Another subject in the legal aptitude area is law of contract. In law of contract, basically we need to learn the definition. Definition mainly comprises of 5 areas, that is proposal, acceptance, consideration, agreement and contract. In the second part of the contract, there comes the communication of offer and acceptance. In the third part of the contract comes the revocation of offer and acceptance. Fourth part of the contract comprises of free consent of the parties. There are basically 5 important areas in this particular respect. First is coercion, second is undue influence, third is fraud, fourth is misrepresentation and fifth is mistake. Then comes the competency of the party. Another part of the law of contract is what agreements are void agreement. Now, another part of the contract act is the discharge of the contract. Then comes the damages which we can claim in the case of breach of. Then comes the special contract. First is contract of agency, then comes the contract of bailment, then contract of guarantee, then contract of indemnity, and the last is pledge and hypothecation. Now, all these particular area is come under the important provision of law of contract. Now, these are the broad classification which we need to study and highlight. That's all. Third in the legal aptitude area comes the criminal law. Now, criminal law basically comprises of variety of concepts. First is what is the concept of mens rea. Second is there are few important definitions like what do you mean by fraudulently taking away, what is a dishonest intention. So, basically these definitions also play a key role in the legal aptitude area when we come into the area of criminal law. Therefore, we need to focus on this particular area also. The another part which forms a significant part are the various stages involved in the crime. Then comes the abatement part, then criminal conspiracy, what constitute criminal conspiracy, then what is the difference between criminal conspiracy and an unlawful assembly, then comes the general exception part. General exception part forms a significant part for the purpose of CLAT because general exception parts gives a added advantage to the accused if a particular person come under this particular category of general exception, then he is exempted from the crime. Then comes the most important part, that is what is the difference between culpable homicide and murder. Then what does the culpable homicide not amounting to murder means. Then comes wrongful restraint and wrongful confinement, and what is the basic difference between wrongful restraint and wrongful confinement. Then comes kidnapping and abduction. Then we learn about the offences which are committed against the property, namely theft, robbery, dacoity and extortion. Then comes in the list is of criminal misappropriation of the property, and what is the difference between criminal misappropriation of property, theft and criminal breach of trust. Another part is criminal trespass, and the last part for the criminal law is defamation. And what is the another important area which comprises a significant part for legal aptitude is that of constitutional law. In constitutional law, basically you can expect the question combined in the MCQ forms because it is a well part of the polity and the most of the questions comes in the form of MCQ rather than on legal and factual based problem. The basic area which we need to discuss in constitutional law mainly comprises of preamble. What does preamble signifies? Then part 3, that is the fundamental rights. Then part 4, that is directive state policy, or known as DPSP. Why part 3 is enforceable in the court of law and why part 4 is not enforceable in the court of law. Then the important part is that of executive, which basically comprises of president and governor. Then comes the judiciary, both state as well as the union judiciary. And basically what is the difference between article 32 and article 226? Then comes the union, state as well as the concurrent list, which is given in the part 7th of Indian Constitution. Then comes the emergency provision, basically article 352, 356 and 360. Then comes the amendment part, that is article 368 of Indian Constitution. The last part of the legal aptitude examination is that of legal maxim and recent development. Few important maxims students need to know, and the recent development which are to be taken care of by day-to-day readings of newspaper. That is the entire syllabus for the legal aptitude test, comprising basically of law of torts, law of contract, criminal law, constitutional law, and the last and the most important part, that is of legal maxim and recent development, because the student can expect the question in the form of GK as well as. Therefore, recent development has to be termed through the legal knowledge as well as the recent development which is taken place in India currently.